Henry Louis Gates did it to Morgan Freeman, and we're doing it to the lieutenant governor of the state of New York. It's DNA testing, and we're going to be joined by David Paterson to discuss the results of his test next on New York Now.
Lytle. This is New York Now with your host, Susan Arbetter.
If you've seen the series African American Lives, you understand that what you can learn about your ancestors through DNA testing can be shocking, funny, and almost always completely unexpected. Well, New York Lieutenant Governor David Paterson's test was no exception. With the help of Bennett Greenspan, the founder and CEO of Family Tree DNA, the same firm that conducted the DNA testing for African American lives on people like Maya Angelou, we discovered some remarkable things about the Lieutenant Governor's progenitors. And we're going to be sharing those discoveries with you in a moment. First, let me introduce our very special guest today, Lieutenant Governor David Paterson. Thanks so much for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me, Susan.
So when you heard that we were interested in testing your DNA, what went through your mind?
I thought it was pretty exciting. I, as you may know, was involved in the National Memorial for the African Burial Grounds.
Absolutely.
And Lower Manhattan. It's approximately at the confluence of Broadway, Duane Reade, and Elk Street in Lower Manhattan. And the interesting aspect that I never really get a chance to talk about is that when we were considering suing the federal government because we felt that they were not complying with the section of the law that compelled them to research the remains that they found at the site, we were looking for someone whose ancestry went back to the early 1800s. And we never found one African American who could trace their ancestry back to the beginning of the 19th century. So this has been the hunt that African Americans, men and women, have engaged in for nearly 2 centuries to find out our lineage, to find the African countries for which we're indigenous. And at the burial grounds, we were able to match the remains and the burial patterns with burial patterns in places like Ghana and Angola and in Guinea and even in Mozambique.
It's because of these, the burial grounds, that we are able to do any sort of mitochondrial DNA testing on African Americans here.
Yes.
So what did you, I'm going to get to what we learned about your DNA in a second, but what did you know about your family history and family lore prior to doing this?
Well, my mother's side of the family are from North and South Carolina, obviously.